Got it. Okay.
Good evening. Mixed bag at Belmont Village. Monday, third Monday, always third Monday, December 2021. Melissa.
My story is Puppies Grow Up. This is a story that I wrote. Being the youngest puppy in a litter of 4 and the only female, Foxy was teased a lot by her 3 male litter mates. The oldest was Leo. The second was Bear. The third was Monkey. And then she came last. They liked to play keep away with a bone, and she would call, "Hey!" And then they always went back, "Straw, straw," and they'd paw at her. She never could get the bone at all. Well, when the family took trips in their SUV, they always piled Foxy, Leo, Bear, Monkey in the very back with the parent dogs. And everyone else got in the front, though, the humans. And so all the dogs were crunched together. Well, when they drove past a cattle ranch, they went across something called a cattle guard. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And the other puppies would say, "Oh, it's a Foxy crossing. Foxy just stinks, doesn't she? Stink, stink, stink." Foxy was upset. She didn't stink. In fact, the other puppies were the ones that liked to roll in the manure, just like the parent dogs rolled in the manure, but she didn't like to do that. She liked to smell flowers, or she would bite fruits like blueberries and blackberries with her mouth. She wasn't at all like the other puppies. She was a very clean dog, and the only way she could defend herself was by biting the other puppies. Help, help. But when the humans saw that, they yanked her chain. "Don't do that, Foxy, or we're going to have to leave you at home." She whined. If the humans only knew what her brothers were doing, but they couldn't speak dog language. They didn't know that. All they knew was human language. What the other dogs did know was the language of newspapers. Whack, whack. And they were always careful to avoid that. Well, the humans also called her the runt of the litter because she was smaller. She had shorter legs. She was all puffy. But she was the only female. And she knew when she grew up, she was going to get a special name. She could hardly wait. Well, in the meantime, the dogs were always running around the dining room table when the humans were sitting there eating. The mother human put down little biscuits for them. Of course, there were 6 dogs, and the mother accidentally put down 7 biscuits. So all the dogs went in and got their biscuit, and Foxy went in and got her biscuit too. And there was 1 biscuit left. And they were all gobbling to get that back to that 7th biscuit. She went in first to get hers, and the other dog said, "You're going to get fat. You're going to get fat, Foxy. Let us have that little biscuit." And then they started fighting. Well, the human father, he took his newspaper and he whacked him and it said, "Now get outside if you're going to play like that, dogs. And don't come in until you can behave." Foxy got to stay indoors. Well, as time goes on, puppies grow up and they became full dogs, and they all went their own ways. So Leo, he went to live with a geologist who would climb around in rocks and study the minerals with a magnifying glass, and often gave his leftover sandwiches to Leo in addition to his regular food. And Bear, he went to work with a fisherman. He would rock back and forth on the boat, and when there were extra fish heads or little pieces of skin, he would always go in and eat them, in addition to his dog food. And Monkey, well, he went to work for a scientist who was always munching on gorp good old raisins and peanuts and things like that. So Monkey had his snacks in addition to his food as well. But Foxy, she didn't do that. She grew up and she had a litter of puppies. And she knew now she had that special name. But she didn't tell anybody the name yet. She decided she wanted to have a dog reunion. So she sent a message to all the other litter mates and she said, let's meet in the park. You can run away from your owners and we'll meet there. So she got to the park early in the morning with her two puppies and they ran around on all the human equipment, climbing up the steps, sliding down the slides. She kept wondering why the other dogs were so late. Then finally, across the park, there was Leo dragging himself to get to where she was. He seemed to have some kind of problems with his hips. And then Bear came. He was coming from another direction, and he was also lumbering quite slowly. He had gained a lot of weight. And then Monkey was coming slowly as well. In fact, Monkey's belly was dragging on the ground. They had all gotten very heavy. So they showed up and they said, hello, Foxy. You've kept your little girlish puppy figure, haven't you? How did you do that with your puppies? She said, I don't know, but you all have gotten fat, haven't you? I didn't get fat at all. And I have a new name. My name is a bitch. That's my story.
Oh, Melissa, you can deliver a surprise. I don't think I'm the only one who was surprised, but maybe others presaged it.
Well, what can I say?
Wow.
Dogs?
Excuse me?
Do you have dogs?
No, but I have 3 older brothers.
Yeah.
And sadly, they all became diabetics. So, and fat, yeah, and fat.
Well, we can all guess that they live in the great US of A, which I am proud of, except for things like diabetes and many other things.
Yeah, unfortunately, the American diet is, it's not as healthy as what Renu eats, I'm sure.
That's true.
Melissa,
Yeah, but I think there's a lot. Sorry, Linda. There's a lot of diabetes here in India as well because people are very fond of sweets. Indian sweets. They're loaded with the ghee. Ghee is clarified butter and a lot of sugar. But here now, I have decided to put a check on sweets, and I'm now planning. I'm a vegan, so obviously my chances of putting on weight or having diabetes are very slim. But I do now, I'm trying to, as I'm growing older, I'm being more careful with the amount of sweet I eat. But yes, India also is a country which has a lot of people who have diabetes.
I see. Well, there's some wisdom in trying to have a good diet. Even if you're a dog, I think dogs can get diabetes too.
Yes, they get all the diseases that humans have. So we are very careful with what we give our dogs. We give them only vegetarian food, a lot of vegetables, a lot of lentils. So they are very healthy. Both my dogs are healthy.
See.
I have a few things to make comment on Melissa's. Does anyone else want to go first? If Melissa, are you interested in feedback?
Sure.
Does anyone have feedback for Melissa?
Yes, that you go first, Linda.
All right. Usually I would go last. I'm so charmed with the surprise. Preceding that, I was getting ahead of myself, or maybe I wasn't following along quickly enough. And it was like, oh, Melissa's story is about dogs with jobs. And then I realized they had grown up and left the litter and found owners, or were found by owners. And I love how you characterize the occupations. Although I missed the last one. Do you remember the occupation of the
Oh,
last?
Monkey? He went to work for a scientist.
A scientist in Berkeley.
Well,
Something that's,
could be anywhere.
well, I thought you said something that sounded like Berkeley. I knew it was a lab of sorts. Yeah. And I don't know how to remark about the you're going to get fat. You're going to get fat. That's a great way to tie the story together. And I didn't know how to take it, and I still don't know how I take it. But I think it's very realistic in human behavior, and maybe even in dog behavior. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Before you logged on, I was complaining, and Vicky and Renu have heard it before. I'm in a writing class and I write stories, but I don't often finish them. And this one, there's a goal and we're supposed to finish it. And I'm catching up so I don't miss out. And so here I meet you tonight, but not for the first time. You and I have been to some events together in Berkeley at the Silk Roadhouse. And I think you portrayed a historic character.
I did. I portrayed Tahare from Persia. I portrayed Sacagawea, who accompanied the Lewis and Clark expedition. I also portrayed Phoebe Hearst, the patron of UC Berkeley, and the woman for whom Hearst Street is named.
That's the Phoebe Hearst portrayal that I saw. Thank you. Renu, would you like to go next for comment to Melissa?
Yes, yes. I love the story, Melissa, especially when it started off with dogs, because I'm crazy about dogs. And I guessed that the name is Bitch, but I didn't realize what context you were coming to. So that ending was really a good surprise, because generally what you find in stories is that, the protagonist is generally very nice and, the antagonists are the bad ones. But here she stands up for herself and says, you're fat. So I suppose that, I don't know, that's my understanding. But Melissa, was that your intention, that she's being nasty to them and then says, my name is Bitch? Was that your intention?
Yeah, that's one interpretation. Also, yes, and also it's a name of power. Because I mean, in some circles, it's not an acceptable word.
Yes.
But it's actually the name of a female dog, who's had puppies. So
yes.
I can squeak it in there without it being a swear word.
Yes, very, very true. In fact, now women are reading that word and they're quite proud. If somebody says bitch, says, yeah, so what?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Renu.
Thank you. Thank you, Renu.
Andre or Vicky?
Well, I really love the expressions. It was a very expressive face, very animated. The barking and the way you got close to the camera when you're moving your face. I really enjoyed that part.
I really enjoyed the timing, how you held back and then you moved forward. You were very aware of your timing, and that was really neat because we all went with you and stopped, and it was good.
Well, I'm happy to be telling. Tom and I have come to this mixed bag on Mondays for several months, but we haven't told yet. So I think this is my first time telling at this event. So thank you.
Wow, good. Teller number 2. Shall I call?
Yeah.
Renu.
Okay. I don't think I've told you the story of the very tall princess, have I? I haven't, right? The very tall princess. This is again something that I have written. So, once upon a time, in a kingdom somewhere in India, there lived a very tall princess called Surabhi. When Surabhi was born, she was like any other baby. But when she started to grow, she became taller and taller, taller and taller. And soon she was taller than her parents, and they were quite tall. And she kept growing. Finally, she was the tallest in the palace. And then she became the tallest in the kingdom. And Surabhi was not at all happy about this. She kept complaining, she kept crying, and she kept saying, I don't want to be so tall. Every time I have to look down at people to talk, and everybody has to look up at me. I just don't like it. Why can't there be one person, at least one person who's my height or little taller? I hate it. I hate it. Her mother tried her best to talk her out of these constant complaints. And she said, Surabhi, just be happy with what you have. Everything else is so nice about you. So why are you so worried about being so tall? Just as you are the tallest in the kingdom, I'm sure there's someone in the kingdom who's the smallest or the shortest. But Surabhi would just not listen to anyone. And every day she would go around stomping and getting angry and shouting, screaming, and finally her parents were fed up. So one morning when the king was in the court, he announced, isn't there someone in this kingdom who can resolve this problem of my very tall daughter? So then nobody said anything. The king said, summon the royal astrologer. And when the royal astrologer came, he said, yes, your majesty, how can I help? And the king said, I'm looking for a solution for my daughter. She's not at all happy being so tall. Isn't there anyone who can help? The astrologer thought for a moment and then said, yes, I do know of someone far away on the top of a very high mountain. There lives a very old, wise woman. She may be able to help. But Princess Surabhi has to go there all by herself and on foot. The king and the queen looked at each other. They said, okay, since this seems to be the only solution, let's ask Surabhi. And so Surabhi was called. And when she heard, she said, yes, I'm all set to go. It's going to be an adventure. Because you see, Surabhi had never ever left the palace by herself and never by foot. She'd always gone in the closed carriage. She'd never ever experienced seeing everything. All she had seen was the palace and the palace garden, and she was fed up of the people of the garden. And so the very next day, she wore on very simple clothes and off she went. She walked to the garden, she walked out of the palace gates, and she felt free. She could see the tall trees on either side of the road. Blossoms, purple, orange, yellow, and beyond the trees, beautiful grass, flowers peeping from here and there, waving around gently in the breeze. And beyond that, the roofs of all the houses. And far ahead, she could see those mountains, one of which she would have to climb. And so she walked with a skip here and a skip there, looking here, looking there, and having a great time. But as she walked and she walked and she walked, her skip slowed down to a walk. And then slowly she started dragging her feet because now she was hungry. She was tired. She looked all around. She found a stone by the roadside and she went and sat down there. Now she needed something to eat and to drink. And so she looked everywhere. And far away on a field was a farmer. Hello, hello, farmer, she called out. The man heard her, came to her and said, yes, can I help you? I'm so hungry and thirsty. Can you please give me something to eat? Of course, he said. He went away and brought her some very ordinary flat bread and a little bit of potato. Surabhi had that like it was the tastiest meal in the whole wide world. He gave her some water to drink. Glug, 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 she went. Felt much better. Thank you. I'm off. Where are you going? He asked her. I'm going to that mountain far away and blah, blah, blah. She told him where she was going. And he said, I have heard of that wise old woman too. Do you think you could ask her for a wish? Of course. You see, there used to be a river flowing to the kingdom. All of a sudden it's dried up. And now all of us are worried. We farmers are worried. What is going to happen to our crops? How are we going to feed our families and the people of the kingdom? I'll take care of it, said Surabhi. And off she went. Again, a skip here and a skip there, looking here, looking there. But as she walked and she walked and she walked, she got tired. This time there was no stone to sit on. So she looked everywhere, not a soul in sight. And then something up on a tree caught her sight. There was an eagle. Let me try, she thought. Eagle, hey, eagle. The eagle looked down at her. Come here. I need something to eat and drink. The eagle flew away and soon came back with some fruits. She had the fruits like she had never tasted such fruits before. Feeling better, she said, I'm off. Thank you. The eagle said, where are you off to? So she told him where she was going and why. Oh, could you please ask for a wish for me too? Tell me. You see, I'm not really an eagle. I'm a river. But one day, an evil sorcerer came to have a swim in my waters. And he almost drowned. And he blamed me for it. He cast a spell and changed me into an eagle. I don't like it. I want to go back and be a river. I'll do it for you, she said. And off she went. And so she walked and she walked and she walked. And finally, she was at the bottom of that tall mountain. And she looked up and up and up. It's so tall. How am I going to climb this mountain? I came all this way to be stopped by this. Then she heard a voice. I can help you. She looked around. Sitting on a stone was a small monkey. You help me? Don't doubt me. I may look small, but I'm very strong. Okay, give me your hand, said the monkey. And so she placed her hand in his, and they went climbing up the mountain. Up and up and up and up they went, till they reached the very top. It was cold and windy up there. And the monkey said, I'll wait here for you. I'm sure you'll need help to go down. Oh, thank you so much. But why have you come here? And so the princess told him why she had come. Oh, can you please ask the old woman for a wish for me too? Of course. You see, I came down from Monkeyland to help a king who was in distress. But now I'm not able to get back home. I've forgotten the way home. Okay, I'll help you, she said. And she started to walk here and there. And finally, she found the wise old woman who was deep in meditation. And so Surabhi waited. And when the old woman opened her eyes, she said, Ah, Surabhi, you're here. How did you know I was coming? Ah, I knew. You've come for a wish, right? It's granted. Really? Yes. Isn't that why you came? Yes, but, yes. Would it be possible for you to give me 3 more wishes? 3 more wishes? I'm sorry. I can only grant you 1. Surabhi was disappointed, but she knew there was no arguing with this woman because she had closed down her eyes and she had gone back to meditation. And so Surabhi walked away sadly. How was she going to help her three friends? If it hadn't been for them, she would never have been able to reach the top of that mountain. And so, heart down in her feet, she walked back to the monkey. The monkey said, "Let's go." And soon they were down at the bottom of the mountain. And then he asked her, "Did she grant my wish?" And Surabhi hesitated. And finally, she made up her mind. And she said, yes. She said that when you helped the king, he gave you something in return, didn't he? Yes, yes. He gave me this precious stone. He said one day it would be of use to me. Give me that stone, she said, and you may go. So he gave her the stone and he found his way back home. So the princess took the stone in her hand and she continued to walk. Soon she had reached the eagle, and the eagle said, have you got my wish for me? And she said, yes. Take this stone, drop it in the land that you once flowed, and you'll be back to being a river again. The eagle thanked her, picked up the stone, and off he flew. And the princess continued to walk. And when she reached the farmer, he was waiting there, all eager to find out. And she said, yes, your wish has been granted. Please go. I'm sure the river has started to flow. He said, thank you so much. And he ran off. And the princess continued to walk. But as she walked, she suddenly felt so much lighter. She felt happy. She felt so much joy. And when she went back home, her parents were there, right there, waiting for her. Oh, Surabhi, Surabhi, you're back, said her mother. She ran forward, hugged her daughter. And she said, did the old woman grant you your wish? Ah, mother, I'm so tired. I need to freshen up and then I'll tell you. I have a long story to tell. And so Surabhi freshened up and then she told her parents all that had transpired. And she said, I knew that when the old woman granted me that wish, that one wish would help all my three friends. And when I gave up my wish to them, I felt so happy. I've never felt this happier before. Because you see, Ma, you were right. It doesn't matter if I'm tall. So what? I can be happy just the way I am. And from that day on, Surabhi never complained. Instead, she started helping her parents rule the kingdom because she knew that so many people had problems which are much bigger than hers. And that's the end of the story.
Renu, thank you. Thank you. Quick aside. I know sometimes I hear background of dogs. Can you have dogs? Tonight I heard background of birds.
There are a lot of birds here, like I said.
And it didn't happen before Eagle entered the story, by the way, that I heard.
It always happens. I
Would
think
you
you
like
noticed this
feedback?
before.
Would you like feedback? Who would
Yes,
like-
please,
If
please.
so, who would
I
like
love
to
it.
ask feedback or remark?
No, please go ahead. I'm always happy to receive feedback. Helps me to grow and improve.
I love your expressions, you know, even when you're going back and forth from the old wise woman to the young girl, you just change just enough that we know who is who. I mean, your expressions are that good. They're really, really good. You're a great storyteller. What can I say?
Thank you, Vicky.
Andre, Melissa?
I liked how you told the repetitions of the story. You know, and with each one, you created a little bit more tension in the story, and you didn't actually reveal where she got the stone, what that was all about until she got home, and then she told her parents. But I had a suspicion that that one wish would grant all the others, and then it was delivered in the story. So I thought you crafted it quite well, and in your telling, it was very pleasant to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa, and my pleasure.
Andre?
I enjoyed the story. immensely in your storytelling. I love the repetition, like a skip here and a skip there. And I just love that rhythm. You just have a very engaging, animated style of storytelling that really is enchanting, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Andre.
Renu, I feel the same way. Uh, and so I won't repeat, but I would ask that next time. I needed a little. Melissa's right, but I heard the stone as something to sit on early on, and I didn't quite follow the objects as the story went by. And
Okay.
I didn't quite pick up on Melissa's gift to her requesters till much later. It came much later, but I feel as though I missed something in the middle that would have helped me to hear, because I was so disappointed when she went down the mountain with the monkey, and I was afraid she was going to have to go back up the mountain and not disappoint her requesters. And not at all. She had some enlightenment, and I missed that part. But I loved the whole.
Thank you. Thank you. No, what happens is that when the princess actually she realizes that that one wish can help, because when she asks the monkey, maybe I have left it to the imagination of the listener. Maybe the old woman does say that there's a particular, this wish itself can help grant all the three wishes. I think that part I must have missed out, but the old woman does give her a small hint that this one wish can either help you or the other three. I think that part I missed out. Maybe that's why you couldn't understand the whole thing. So when she asked the monkey, is there something that the king gave you? Remember, the monkey comes down to help a king in distress. The monkey says, yes, the king did give me a precious stone, which he said would help me one day. And when he gives the stone to the princess takes that stone, gives it to the eagle. Because it's a magic stone, he drops it in the dry river bed and he starts to flow again. And obviously that answers the farmer's prayer. I mean, the farmer's wish. So she has granted all the three requests with that one wish.
Did you write that story?
Yes, I did.
Oh my, Vicky, how did you know? I didn't even guess.
Somehow I thought it was a blue stone. Did you say the word blue?
No, I just said it's a magic stone. Yeah, even blue sounds good. I'll say blue stone next time.
For some reason, I imagined it as
Blue. Yeah. No. Next time I shall make the color clear. I should say blue because that's a nice suggestion.
That's so funny.
Thank
I
you.
thought it was blue too.
I
Yeah.
know. I maybe in my imagination also it was blue.
Kind of nice to be on our pale blue dot, all zeroing in on the color blue.
I think this story just came about because there's so much of body shaming and there's so much of stuff happening like that in India, especially where people are too tall or too fat or too thin or whatever. Maybe you have some scars on your face or you're not particularly good looking. Everything becomes a hassle because you get teased continuously. And I think that is a major problem for teenagers. People who are that age group, they are very, very sensitive. So I wrote the story basically for that, because I want people to know that you can be happy just the way you are. You don't have to worry about what other people think of you. So that's one of the reasons. And I've written another story also about being bald, and how the story is about a man who wears a wig. And that story I shall keep for next time. That again is about body shaming, because a lot of people now have started balding at a very young age and they feel very conscious about it. So I thought I must write. I mean, I addressed that. I wrote a story. So I keep writing stories. I think I have the message first in my mind and then I create a story around
Oh, Renu, you make me realize that mentioning teenagers is spot on. Teenagers aren't alone, but they do seem the most burdened with troubles. And you spark the idea of anyone, any trouble, as long as it's not life-threatening, can be minimized by trying to replace the trouble with something bigger, or at least bigger than the trouble. That, yeah, it's interesting. It's like a transfer. Thank you. Andre, are you telling tonight still? You're muted,
Yeah, I'm still telling tonight.
Is now a good time?
A little later.
A little later.
Yes.
I don't know about me. I don't know about Tom, but Vicky might
Yeah.
have
Yeah, I have just
Okay.
an idea of a story, so I'm just trying it out. Edna loved to see Aiden come and stay, and Aiden loved coming to stay. Her grandson always came to stay with her when his parents were fighting, or when they were drinking, or when they were threatening to leave. And Aiden always knew in his grandmother's house, he had a bedroom that was his, and he could close the door. And Edna loved that. She felt as though she could offer a safe haven for him. But sometimes a safe haven, she felt, didn't always answer the problem. He was a small boy, 12 years old, smaller for his age. And he didn't get out and play with the other kids in the neighborhood who were roughhousing and skateboarding, and he preferred to be alone. And he didn't play video games, he read books. And he didn't listen to rap music, he listened to classical music. And she was so afraid that maybe he would never learn how to be a man and take care of himself. He just seemed so fragile and so open to being hurt. So she thought to herself about what she could do. And it occurred to her, maybe she'll take him out to one of those spray paint places, those spray paint gun places, and maybe he can learn to be a little bit more aggressive. And as she was walking down the hall, she went past his room and the door was closed, and as usual, billowing out from under the door was classical music. So she took a deep breath and she opened the door and walked in. Before she could say anything, she realized she was standing in a deep, dark forest. And the sounds of a cello were adding purples and deep forest greens and blues to the undergrowth. And vines crawled up to the sound of a flute and edged up higher, higher to the canopy where there was light. And tiny little birds, exotic yellows and reds and blues, flitted this way and that with piccolo sounds. And every so often, a violin leaf would fall quietly. And she stood in this beautiful, enchanted forest, and there was a path right in front of her. And it led to darkness. So she looked even harder. And then she heard the sound of a baritone singing, a deep, rumbling sound that became angrier and fuller and more dark. And the kettle drums began. And it was an ogre coming down the path right toward her. And the violin screeched as his big yellow eyes glared at her like headlamps, his hair sticking straight up. And he whipped down trees. And the chorus rose up, screaming its anguish. But then all of a sudden, right off to her right, came a little knight. And he was, in fact, in shining armor on a horse with a pendant. And the pendant flew the symbol of peace, a dove. And he rode right by her and turned and faced the evil ogre, who was enraged and who was chaotic and violent and dark. And he roared out in the sound of trumpets blaring. And all of a sudden, the little knight headed right toward him, and a terrible fight happened. There was screeching of violins and sopranos rising up and falling in anguish, and his tenor voice rang out for truth, but was slapped down by the sound of a trumpet. and all the noises came together in a huge cacophony. And then all of a sudden, silence fell and fell and fell until there was nothing but a piano solo playing a simple, quiet tune back and forth like the rolling of the sea. And out of the dust and the chaos limped a young man, scarred and tired, in all his armor exhausted. And yet his head was up and he still had his banner. And as he walked by her, a tenor's voice rose up with a sound of righteousness that just blossomed in front of him. And he kept his eyes straight ahead and walked right by her. And she said, Aiden, Aiden, is that you? And all of a sudden, she was standing in the middle of the bedroom of a pre-adolescent boy with a messed up bed and clothing piled up on a chair and a couple of monster drinks sitting on the table there. And there he was standing in front of her. Oh, she said, what was that? What was that? And in his feigned indifference, he shrugged and looked down at the carpet and said, Mozart, Opus 20, G major. Oh, she said, yeah, I knew that. I knew that. Okay. Well, I'm going to go fix dinner. Dinner will be ready soon. And she turned and retreated out of the room and closed the door. And as she headed toward the kitchen, going full bore toward making her tuna noodle casserole, she stopped at the desk and she got herself a big piece of paper and a marking pen. And she wrote something in big letters and got herself some tape and taped a sign to the door. And it said, tomorrow's hero lives here. That's the end.
Oh, Vicki. At first I heard tomorrow's zero, but I now hear hero.
Hero. Sorry.
Oh. The first thing that came to my mind that the paper would announce future genius or performance in a fortnight or anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want feedback?
Sure.
If people have feedback, you may pipe
Oh,
up.
Well, for a first time trying the story out, it was very engaging, very riveting. I like your whispery voice and also how you use your voice to describe different types of music, from the baritone, the soprano, and the piano. It was a very, you could almost hear the music because you were very expressive. It was very a rich and engaging story. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You have a very great voice and a manner for storytelling. It was quite good, quite exceptional.
Thank you so much.
Renu, Melissa?
Vicky, really no words to say, Vicky. You know I'm a huge fan. I think I love your way of telling stories. I love the way you write your stories. I don't think I've heard a single story that you haven't written. I think this is the 6th or 7th story I'm listening to. This is something you've written yourself, right? Yeah, and I love that expressions. And I think you've got a big fan base in India as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Vicki,
I
I want
really
to
have.
ask, Renu, what did you say about Vicki's fan base? I missed it.
In India, because Vicky's been to my festival twice, and I think people have absolutely loved her style of telling and also the stories. So if, Linda, I asked you, and anyone here who wants to come and tell a story, please let me know. And you're welcome to come and tell a story.
It's wonderful what you do with story and broadcasting story. Melissa, do you want to say anything to Vicki?
I loved how when, she opened the door, you have her immediately taken in by the music, and she enters the imagination of her grandson. Um, it makes me think of that story Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Maury Sendak, yeah. Who he's basically playing out a child's fear, through all those things. And this is this boy's internal trauma, and yet he's found a piece of music in which to work out the conflict. So that was a very wonderful, powerful element in this story. And what a insightful grandmother that she understands on his level what is going on in his life, and she's acknowledging him and giving him respect. So I really like the affirmative nature of this story, affirming the grandson for who he is.
So many kids, they have their own way of surviving things that are painful. And however you go is however you go. Just, he is a hero.
I think you just need that one person who believes in you.
Mm-hmm. Who sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Oh, Vicki, I want to tell you that you have now shown the promise and the power of audio without the need for any video. We could have all turned off. I love watching you, and I wouldn't want to turn off the video. But your story did what too many times is done with expensive, exhausting visuals or extremely hardworking, huge orchestras. And you have, it's like a almost reduced is the wrong verb, but to a haiku in terms of conveying. You took me so quickly, not only from the grandmother's intelligence and compassion, but to the ability of humans when listening or watching or observing or caring, interact, how quickly they can do what it's like the reverse of a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's the sleeve turned inside out. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I have to say that's part of why I love storytelling. Unlike animation, is the story is all up here. It's in your head, it's in your head, it's in your head. You see the kid, and your idea of who the kid is may be different from somebody else's. The story is happening inside you, and I love that about storytelling. I could see a tall princess, I could see the puppy, but maybe that's not the puppy you saw, but it's the one I saw, and it was very real. So that's what's so cool about storytelling. It runs a movie in your head.
It would be interesting sometime to experience. We could try it now if you want. I ditto that. But I often think, oh gosh, I bet Andre has some structure, or Melissa has some color that she's ascribing, or Rainu is hearing Vicky's family life of the grandson or the room and their picture, but I don't ever fill in any of those kinds of details, but I'm following it along, I think, in a black and white distinct way. I can have Rainu's mountain. It got bigger and taller once Rainu's character got to the base of it, and I was following it along, but I feel as though my visuals are nothing like what you, Vicki, just described are possible. And I think that I don't want to feel bereft by that, but I'm curious if other people are able to do more elaborate visuals than some of us. Not that it matters, but if you have an answer, I'd ever so welcome it. Any of you. If you got what I'm trying to say, maybe you don't. and I don't want to steal the thunder from what's more important, and that's what you said, Vicky, about storytelling. It allows for one teller to reap or to sow all the different images that go with that. And so much in common and so much unique. Yeah.
Well, sometimes I think color matters, but other times it doesn't. So like in Renu's case, I don't know, the stone just looked blue to me. And that seemed like a powerful color, but to someone else, green could be a powerful color. And some stories seem to rely more on the color element or not. I mean, like black and white movies, they're very crisp in having these different shades and details, and they don't need color. So, it depends on the story, I think.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Melissa.
I think it's funny that you and I both saw a blue stone. The stone I saw was peacock blue, bright peacock blue.
In my writing class, the writer Jeannie has a story that it's one of those Shirley Holmes instead of Sherlock. And so Shirley has a blue stone in her story. And I forget if it's a mineral. I don't think it's related to indigo, but Melissa and Vicky are both making me think of that writer's story with the blue stone.
I was thinking more of lapis, the real dark blue
lapis.
with the gold flecks in it. But it's like, whatever.
And the story that I'm working on, that I was referring to earlier, has a glazed blue dot on a pot that is orange, but the dot is blue, indigo blue. So welcome, blue. What an exciting evening.
But actually, it's interesting. If I don't mention the color of the stone, I think everybody will imagine a different color, right? So maybe I shouldn't mention it. Otherwise, we would never have realized that Vicky and Melissa had thought of the same color. So perhaps I'll just stick to magic stone and leave the color out.
Yeah, because, in different cultures, different colors, of course, are power colors.
Yeah, I think so. So I think it's best certain things are left to the imagination of the listener.
Wow. This is a splendid evening. I'm super glad for it. We're doing fine on time. I wish I had a story to bring to you, but I'd have to really think hard, and I don't have the bandwidth. If anyone's inclined and has a story in their hip pocket.
Can I just say that I saw, excuse me, Andrea, I saw you at the celebration, and you told the story about the boy who cried wolf, basically.
Yes.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. I
I'm
told
glad.
2 versions of the story.
Oh, I bet so many of you are doing so much more than I'm doing with stories. Congratulations, Vicky, making it to celebration. Yay.
Oh, thank you.
And I didn't even make it to Wednesday night, December 15, genre tales. Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I have to say, Andrea, I was telling somebody about your telling of that story, and that your movements are so dancer-like. They're very graceful and dancer-like. I tend to do more comedic movement. Mm-hmm. Yours are very dancer-like. It's very graceful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Vicky, I take it Andre told standing.
No, I was sitting down.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, yes.
Are you trained in dance?
Nope, not at all.
But do you like to dance?
I love dancing, but it's been so long. been so long, so long.
Hmm.
Well, the story I want to share is the one I shared at Genre Tales, like religious and inspirational stories. So that's the story I like to share.
Thank you.
I did another a tweak to it. So I want to get the story out because it's a holiday story. And I have very little time to do this. Okay, let me see. Good. You have it on speaker view? Ready?
Thank you. Now I have it on Andre, were you asking me to pin you or
Yes.
spotlight you?
Yeah, spotlight me, please.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome.
This is a story that was written by my late mother, Jessie Lee Dawson Wilson. Papa was 55 when I was born in Somerville, Texas, 1936. My given name was Jessie Lee, but Papa always called me Yellow Gal on account of me being high yellow, that is light skin. Papa spent his whole life farming. There was only one thing wrong with farming. We didn't own the land. The land belonged to this rich white landowner named Robert Smith. He had married a wealthy landowner, a woman who had the land in order to get it. Now, by the time that the two married, her own children were already half grown. And the couple never had any children of their own together. Robert Smith wanted so much to be needed, but nobody needed him except us sharecroppers. Sometimes Robert Smith come riding up to the farm, especially during a planting season and harvesting time. We were supposed to split the crop profits 50-50, but Robert Smith took whatever he wanted. One day, Robert Smith came riding up on a big, beautiful brown horse. Robert Smith was shorter than my papa, but up on that horse, he was so tall, and I barely came up to the belly of the horse. Now, Robert Smith and Papa started talking about the crops and how much they expect would be brought in. And finally, Papa said, "Giddy up." And he took his old mule, Bell, out to the field to plow. And I stood on the edge of the field next to Robert Smith, and I dug my toes on that warm earth, and I watched my papa plow up one field and down another, plow up one field and down another. And Robert Smith, high on his horse, he looked at me, he looked at Papa, then he looked at me again. And for reasons I was never quite able to understand fully, he said, "You really love your papa, don't you?" "Yes, sir. I love my papa." "I'm going to work your papa to death." Neither one of us said another word. And it came as a surprise to Robert Smith that when my papa came in from the field to rest his mule in the shade, I ran up to Papa saying, "Papa, Papa, Robert Smith said he's going to work you to death." He was just joking, yellow gal. Papa Robert Smith started talking about the crops. But I never took my eyes off of Robert Smith. Papa said, "Much obliged," and then returned to plow the rest of the field. And Robert Smith, high on his horse, he took one good look at me. And then he flicked his reins and rode off. By and by, harvest time came, and then winter time. The weather got really cool and the wind was blowing in from the north. A week before Christmas, Papa, Mama, my sister, and I rode into town on a mule-drawn wagon to do some Christmas shopping for Christmas supper. Papa tied up the mule and went to go do some business, while my mama, my sister, and I went grocery shopping for Christmas dinner. Now, after we put our groceries in our wagon, we were about to do some clothes shopping. We looked down at the corner and there was Santa Claus! Santa Claus right there on the corner of Somerville, Texas, and he was passing out toys to the boys and girls who passed by. My mom said, "Come on, girls, let's go get you something." So we went up to Santa Claus and there he was. Really big, and he had a red suit. He was trying to give me a gift. Ho, 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 ho. How about a doll for a sweet girl? There's something about Santa, something about his eyes that bother me. Oh, well, how about a ball instead? You look like Santa, but something about those eyes, I don't know. Well, how about an orange? An orange from California. A sweet orange for a sweet girl. Those eyes, where have I seen those eyes before? But I know I didn't see those eyes before because this is my first time seeing you, Santa. What's going on with the eyes? Well, how about some candy canes and some chocolates? A sweet for a sweetie. Oh, where have I seen those eyes before? I don't know. Finally, Mama whispered to me, "Don't be scared, yellow gal. Go on ahead and take it. That's only Robert Smith." When I heard Robert Smith's name, I began to cry. And Mama tried to pull me towards Santa Claus, but I pulled away. She tried to pull me towards Santa Claus, but I pulled away. And Santa Claus, Robert Smith, be looking at me with his eyes. And I knew it's him. Mama said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. I don't know what got into Yellow Gal. Just give me the gift and I'll give it to her myself later." But I would not touch that gift. So we walked away from Santa. And he was looking at me and I was looking at him. And we got back into the wagon and rode off. I would like to thank Robert Smith because that was the last Christmas I believed in Santa. The world of make-believe was far behind me now. It was as if I had grown old overnight. I could no longer believe in the jolly man in the red suit who wanted to give gifts to children, but was jealous of the love I felt from my papa. And in the years to come, I would come to know more people like Robert Smith. By and by, the years passed. One day, Robert Smith got gravely ill. And he called my mama to his house because she was very good with roots and herbs. Now, the moment she reached his bed, Robert Smith said, "Aura, where's your daughter, Yellow Gal? I thought you would bring her with you." Well, Mrs. Smith, she done grown up and moved to California just after graduation. To California. Is that so? Is that so? Did she ever mention anything about me? No, Mrs. Smith. She never mentioned anything about you. Did she ever say anything bad about me? Oh no, Mrs. Smith, that must be the fever talking in you. She never said a bad word about you. You've always been good to our family. Yes, that's right, Aura. I've always been good to your family. Later, when Mama wrote me about what Mr. Robert Smith had said, I finally told her what I've been hiding inside all those years about how Robert Smith had said that he was going to work Papa to death. And the only reason why he's asking about me now, because he was wondering whether or not I remembered. But I remembered there was no way for a little girl to forget something like that. Well, Mama helped Robert Smith get cured of his illness. In fact, when I came back home in Texas to visit my family for Christmas, I ran into Robert Smith on the sidewalk. And I looked at him and he looked at me because he knew I knew what he had said. And I looked at him because I knew that he knew what he had said. And I told him, "Merry Christmas, Robert Smith." Thank you.
Andre, thank you. Oh my, I'm glad you got that in 2021. Before
Yes,
this-
yes, yes.
My.
I love that his name is always Robert Smith.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Smith, not Bob. It's
No, it's
Robert.
Robert Smith, Robert Smith. Oh, a lot of good things about the story I found out. Oh, what I did, I went on ancestry.com and I actually found the Robert Smith. I was just looked at the town of Somerville, Texas. And I was, oh God, there's Robert Smith. He was born like 1892 and he died in, I think, 1979. And just like the details of my mother's story, he married a woman who had children from a previous marriage. And he didn't have children of his own at that time. So I really enjoyed that. Another thing that surprised me when in the text of my mother's story, she describes her hesitancy of accepting the gifts from Santa, but she didn't describe why she was hesitant. You know, he kept trying to give gifts to her, but she didn't describe why she was hesitant. Well, last Friday we had Santa Claus visit my work. Ability now Bay Area, passing out gifts. And also often when we meet with the Santa, one of the things that children and even adults do is look at the eyes and see if you can recognize the person by the eyes. You got the big beard, you got the hat, you got the glasses, and a lot of times kids and other people, we focus on the eyes and say, do I know that person? Do I know that person? And I think what happened in my mother's incident is that she looked at the eyes of Santa and she recognized the eyes. And that, well, I've seen those eyes someplace before, because the eyes really don't lie. You know, you may have the big beard, you know, you have the glass in the hat, but the eyes, you know, and given that she had stared down my mother earlier, you know, she knew him by his eyes, you know, despite all the makeup and such. And so, I didn't have that in my that detail in my story for John to tell. So let me add that in, because we just had Santa on Fridays. Oh, now I understand. You know, she recognized him by the eyes. That's why she was very hesitant.
Yeah.
But she didn't write it down in the story. She didn't write it down like why she was hesitant. But I was able to piece it together.
Yeah. I love the characterizations that you did. They're so clear. I can just see each person.
I try. Thank you. I keep my mother's picture above my camera so I can tell the story to her. And I got a picture. You can see it way up in the corner right there. That's my mother's picture there. She's watching my storytelling. So, and she passed away almost 10 years ago. So I've been sharing a lot of her stories, and also I published numerous stories that she had told me. I think this year alone, I published 2 lynching stories she told me about the lynchings of family members and friends back in Texas. Wow. So she had written them down, and then I made an essay about them and got them published.
Wow. That's
Congratulations.
amazing.
Oh my gosh,
thank
Andre. Is the picture the one above your window, which we can see the bottom half of?
Yeah, I could probably get it down.
Oh my word. Oh my word.
Yes.
Oh, how sweet.
Yes.
Oh my word.
Yes.
That is, thank you for getting that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. That's a yellow gal.
There's a sparkle in the eyes.
Yes, she does. Thank you.
Andre, I love how your eyes just reach right through the internet hallway. And I feel like you're right in my room talking to me.
Yes.
And I can feel this character of your mother very clearly. So you kind of you disappear and you become your mother. I loved how you could do that in this telling of the story.
Thank you very much.
Gosh, Andre, Melissa makes me realize that I'm taking no thunder from yours. But had I not spotlighted you, I think what Melissa said would have come true, but I feel like I should ask people about spotlighting more often. I usually find it annoying, but I think Melissa just gave me a new opinion about spotlighting. Chime in if people have preferences.
I prefer spotlighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
In
ask,
your case, Melissa, excuse me, but in Andre's case, he is looking at his character with the photograph thing. In non-Andre situations, I will call them, we're looking at the green dot.
That's true. Yes.
But thank you, Melissa. You've really helped my mind. And whoever else has spotlight comments or Andre comments, please come forth.
or you can just ask the audience to pin the screen of the person who's talking. You can also do that. So
thank you for that remind.
Speaker view.
The thing is with speaker view, though, if he goes back to look at it, it will be in speaker view. Whereas if you, I don't know, whatever Linda sets it as is what you will see in the recording. So even though I push speaker view for Andre when he's speaking, if we're in gallery, all he'll see is gallery regardless. I mean, does that make sense? I'm not making
it makes sense. When Shag's chagrin takes a swap on and puts it on the SAC site. I don't go often, but about 3 months ago, I was on the site and I noticed that some people were spotlighted and some people were made, their square was made larger, but not spotlighted. It's hard to describe, but I feel as though it might take extra work on Shag's part. I feel as though he has an alternative to what Vicky just said. but I should look again before I say.
I'm glad you spotlighted Andrea. It really made a difference.
But
Because-
look, it took Andre from asking me, and so that's again, I'm
Mhm.
grateful for the feedback. Yeah. Hmm.
Did you tell that one at the last genre?
Yes, I
Andre?
did. I told it, but I made the change of the scene with Santa, because we had a Santa visit my workplace, and I noticed that I was focused on trying to read Santa's eyes and figure out who is this person as Santa. I said, oh, then I thought about my mother. Now I understand why she was so hesitant, because
Yeah.
Santa kept trying to give her one gift after another. She kept turning it down. So why was she turning it down? And I just realized she must have studied the eyes and tried to figure out who this person was.
But once again, I love your economy of movement. Like when he picks up the reins and he does this and moves the horse. I mean, it's just such a simple thing,
Yeah,
but
simple.
it exemplifies him, and the movement is your movements are great.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vicki.
Andre, this is not off topic, but 2021 and masks still, and Andre's story and eyes. I mean, we have been spending too much time complaining about not being able to see lips and sending subterranean the eyes that we still have that we can see and are really highlighted for us because there's nothing else to watch on a face if we're masked,
True, that is true.
except maybe the brows and whatever, but it's good. It adds to your story.
Yeah, that's why I like to take off my glasses when I'm telling, so you don't get the reflection there. You could just see my whole face. I could do this here, but when you have the glasses on, it gets in the way.
I'm told, and I didn't wash my glasses, I'm nearsighted, I'm okay, but I'm told that if I'm wearing glasses and I don't want the glare, that I tilt them and there's less glare. FYI. I didn't even notice that you removed your glasses. How
Oh, yes.
obvious. Thank you for that, Andre.
You're welcome.
Well, how we all doing?
I think I'm going to say good night now.
Well, thank you, Melissa and Tom.
We'll
Enjoy
see you
the
next
stories.
month.
See ya.
To January.
Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas and a happy new year.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
To
Bye.
triple
Sorry,
two
Melissa.
year, to a triple 2 year,
Yes.
2022.
Okay, that's it then.
Thanks, Andre. That's
Well,
great.
thank you, Linda. It was
Hi to
quite
Joe if you talk to him. Maybe you won't see him till the new year. Joe.
Not until next week.
Well, cool. To January.
Till January. Merry
Good
Christmas.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I better end the recording.